Hey guys, this is Buddy Lee once again with Last Place Productions, and today I'm going to be going over my Mustang because that hasn't really gotten a lot of attention, and I'm going to be going through it today, kind of what it's like to drive a Coyote swap Foxbody and some of the positives and negatives of it. This particular swap, I have a 2014 F-150 motor. I personally didn't do the swap, but Rock and Chop on Instagram did a pretty decent job. What I've done since I've gotten the car, a lot of suspension stuff, put the cross member or the strut tower connecting brace on here from Maximum Motorsports. Done a couple of little things, put new front rotors on it. I've what else have I done? Oh yeah, I put a roll cage in it. This is actually the roll cage out of my last Foxbody that I totaled, and the guy that bought it at auction found me and asked some questions, and I also asked him if he's willing to sell me some parts back on it, and he did. So there's the shifter out of my last Foxbody. Here's also the Momo pedals as well. Couldn't get the steering wheel back, but I did get the Schroth 4-point racing harnesses, so that's pretty cool. So still feels at home. The interior of the car needs a bit love. See, the door panels are kind of worn out and whooped and stuff, so I will be addressing that eventually. And the dash is cracked, needs some love, but mechanically the car has a 3650 Tremec from a 98 Cobra. The rear end is from a 98 Cobra. We've got SN95 Cobra brakes all the way around. I also have a catted pipe. I don't know if you can see that all the way back. So 3-inch all the way back on that. Shout out to NorCal Fords. You know who you are. And yeah, so that's pretty much the long and short of it. It had fresh paint when I got it. We'll see how long that lasts. Still in pretty good condition. This car doesn't see daylight much, so got the desired Cobra tail lights on there. Everybody likes those. And I'm probably gonna have to replace the glass here. I've done a few things, like there's little bushings in the channel for the glass. This thing was just shaking all over the place. As you can see now, it's solid again. So, but yeah, just the interior needs a lot of love. Also, here's another thing a lot of people don't think about when you're converting a Foxbody. You see how tight it is in there. So right now I'm running an 87 Ranger master cylinder, and that's non-boosted. I'm also running manual steering rack, and it's definitely intensive when you're in tight spots and parking spaces and stuff. It's definitely a two-hand affair. That's why I haven't gone with a smaller steering wheel yet. So I'm going to get a conversion kit from a SN95. 99 and up is a kit I'm going to go with, and that's a Hydra boost setup, because you can't fit a vacuum brake booster right there like it came from the factory. So pretty much that's kind of the long and short of it here. So also the cooling fan right here is from a, I believe, 2010 GT500, and haven't had any issues with the car running hot at all. So as far as the gauges, the guy who built the car put these kind of gauges in. They're all functional. Since the 3650 Tremec transmission doesn't have the same setup that'll work with the factory speedo in this, this is actually GPS based, which is fairly accurate, so I don't really have any problems with that. So yeah, we'll go ahead and start the car up, and we'll take her for a drive. Kind of take her for a drive and kind of narrate while I'm going, and go from there. project, because my last Mustang, to be honest, was kind of done as far as, you know, fit and finish, and I didn't really know what else to do with it. I was thinking about getting a supercharger for it, but I ended up totaling it. Had that car for 6 years. I raced it, but every dog has their bad day. I had me a bad day, so that was what that was. And then I found this. But one thing I will tell people about a Coyote swap is none of the parts on a Coyote are cheap, man. They all cost big money. They're not, you know, they're plentiful, but they're not as cheap as the pushrod 302s, to where you can find stuff left and right for them dirt cheap. It's a different animal. Makes a hell of a lot more power, but definitely not as cheap. So you're thinking you're about to get a, you know, $500 junkyard Coyote motor, just think again, because it's not happening. These things still command $3 to $4 grand minimum for a medium mileage junkyard Coyote motor. And then if you're putting it in a Foxbody chassis, just know that there's a lot more involved to make it work than you would think. So anybody looking to do that, you're looking at, you know, you're gonna have to upgrade the transmission, because a T5 will get destroyed behind one of these. I wouldn't bother running a T5. And the modular motor's bell housing actually fits on the Tremec 3650 transmissions, so it's a no-brainer to find one of those, which you can find fairly cheap. And then you can keep the stock 8.8, but for whatever reason, the guy who built this car, he threw an 8.8 out of an SN95 because it already had the brakes and everything, and it just made sense to do that. So